talk here today. I didn't know too much about the Realtors Association of Maui, so I did a quick Google and I looked up you guys' mission and code of ethics and the quality of life principles. And I gotta say, I'm really proud that Maui has an association like you guys that follow a strict code of ethics and really cares about quality of life and not just making a sale or whatever. But that brings me around to like a little bit about why I'm running for mayor. And I know the first question a lot of people ask is, why didn't you choose to go for council first? And I think the best explanation of that is I've been a county worker for the past 4 administrations on Maui, a couple administrations before that on the county of Hawaii. And so I've been able to see from the front lines in a public safety related field the differences in management styles. And I think with all the resources that Maui has, financial, natural, social resources, we can be doing a lot better than what we are. I've been involved with the Safe Honolulu Coalition for the last 7 years, and when I first became involved in that, I didn't know much about politics at all. And now, I've gone to pretty much every budget testimony since being involved in Safe Honolulu Coalition. I've watched the process of how government works, or in some cases doesn't work. And this election that we're at right now is a real crossroads for Maui. We're transitioning from working under a 1990 community plan for West Maui and a 1990 general plan to the 2030 general plan that starts now and lasts through 2030. And one of the big reasons that I decided to run for mayor is I don't have confidence that this administration is implementing and following the general plan in its entirety. I think they look just at 1 or 2 chapters that are important to certain people and not the full 8 chapters. So I noticed in you guys' quality of life principle, there's about 4 different principles, and at the bottom it says that you need to look at the thing as a whole. Same thing with the Maui Island Plan. Are we any better at community preparedness, disaster preparedness than we were 4 years ago? In the mayor's State of the County 2011 speech, he was talking about merging ocean safety and fire. Now 4 years later, it's not even gonna happen this year. So, and the council didn't know anything about it. So a lot of it has to do with putting the right people in the right positions, having them communicate back and forth with the administration, with the council, with the newly appointed county auditor. And that's something that I feel is kind of a little bit lacking in this administration. And I just like to offer different perspective. Not only are we transitioning from the 1990 general plan to the general plan that lasts through 2030, we're transitioning from a 19th century management practices to 21st century management practices. And there's so much change. Everything is changing faster than ever before. Things are getting more complex, and there's so much more hyperconnectivity. Social media, Maui Watch, as soon as somebody gets hit by a car, like 2,000 people know about it instantaneously. So I think that the way that the county is managed, it needs to transition into the 21st century as well. And to me, that means appointing directors who aren't as concerned about being the boss and telling people what to do, and more so facilitating managers who work with the community to educate them about what the options are, to engage them in discussion about what could happen, the vision for Maui, and empower them to get involved in whatever way that they decide amongst themselves. One thing that I also noticed, another thing is Chapter 6 infrastructure of our County Maui Island Plan talks about, the first section talks about solid waste. And I don't know if you guys have been following too well the Energia waste to energy plan, but regardless of whether the plan is, you think it's a good plan or a bad plan, What I object to is the process by which it was selected. There were people that operate out of the landfill, people that are involved in recycling efforts in Maui, energy creation in Maui, and none of them were consulted. Nobody from the community was consulted on how this 20-year, multi-million-dollar decision is gonna go down. And because of it, right now I feel like there's kind of a disjointed effort to manage our waste in an island-appropriate way. Despite having a recycling coordinator that's being paid by the county for the past 20 years, we have recycling centers getting shut down all around the island. At the end of the Tamara administration, they talked about increasing curbside recycling, and we haven't heard anything about that for the past 4 years. So I think, another solution that I could see is possibly moving the managing director from an appointed position to a permanent position where he keeps track of these things in our Maui Island plan that we had as goals as a community and see that it doesn't change from administration to administration. It's been done in other parts of the country where they have a professionally hired managing director and an appointed mayor or appointed council. So I think we could at least start the discussion as to how Maui would benefit with that. That's pretty much my platform. If you guys had any questions, I'll be free to entertain them. Yes?
In the newspaper this morning, there was the fire chief did not want to accept the safety professionals because of union problems. Can you explain that?
They did go into executive session to discuss it. So I don't believe it's open for the general public to discuss because of liability issues, but those of us in the fire and ocean safety have been told that the target date to transfer to ocean safety to fire department was next fiscal year, July 2015. And so I think there may be a little bit of a problem with communication between the administration and the chief or the different sections. It is gonna have to happen because of the charter amendment, but the charter amendment also states it's gonna happen on the fire chief's timeline, which was pretty plain when the charter passed. So I think it's just a problem of not enough communication. I do know the battalion chief who's in charge of ocean safety just got hired about a month and a half ago. So personally, I don't feel that it's unreasonable to allow the battalion chief to have a year to get up to speed and resolving all the issues that there are. Our union, I have some experience as an ocean safety officer, and I know that we were in HGEA Unit 3 for all this time, and just recently the governor approved the forming of Unit 14. So we're just in the process. We just elected a director statewide for Unit 14, and with that and everything else, I don't think it's unreasonable to allow 1 year. I mean, it's great that he has a timeline, he has a guy hired, they have a plan, they're just asking for a little bit more time. Yes?
I guess I'll ask the question that probably a lot of us want to ask. Are you pro or anti-development?
Kind of a loaded question, but
Well, we need
yeah. I would say I'm not pro or anti-development. I'm pro smart growth. I know that the general plan or the Maui Island plan's urban growth boundaries are pretty big, but I think that if you consider each development within the scope of the entire plan, that would be the best way to address it. Also, the mayor, in my opinion, doesn't have as much say as the council in approving or disapproving major developments, because there are 9 people and it has to get by them before it actually goes to the mayor. have to have some serious flaws in it before I would undo the work that they did. So I'm for smart growth that preserves our quality of life. We can't just build without focusing on the infrastructure, and whether that comes in terms of impact fees or some other creative solution. The main thing is that I'm sure all of you agree that you don't want to kill the goose that laid the golden egg. Everybody comes to Maui because it's so beautiful, and we don't want to ruin it by overdeveloping in an unsustainable way. If development happens, it needs to be directed by the people that live here and what we want, rather than outside interests, basically. Yes?
You know how you have the cap on the TAT for, what, 93 million or something, then everything ends up going to Oahu. Where do you stand on that?
Well, definitely I would support us getting no cap, that's for
Yeah.
sure. It's an easy solution from my perspective, but it's,
How do you organize that? Are you doing work with the other mayors and of all the other counties?
I
Are you
would
guys working
definitely be
together?
willing to work with the other mayors in the other counties. The strongest tool I think we have in that is our state delegation, though, our state senators and our state representatives, and their ability to form a unified stance with the state senators and representatives from the neighbor islands especially, because we're all in it together. I definitely think that if the cap is going to go on, I would like to work with the governor and see how the cap monies that get taken away is going to be reinvested in tourism, whether it's from the county's end or the state end. That money should be reinvested in some way in what had a say in bringing that money in.
And all the islands instead of just Oahu?
Yes, yes. Anyone else?